Yo, what's going on, guys? Reversal here, and today we'll be doing another Spright deck profile. This time it's a little bit updated from my last one. The last one I was running Fenrir's and then a few low impact hand traps, which were Baylor and Mourner. The Mourners were underperforming pretty badly. Baylor was like decent, but it was kind of mid. Fenrir it's a lot better going first than it is going second most of the time. And now I'm playing the Tele Gamma package, which has been getting popular recently because of Ding Kong, who's been doing well with it. So shout out to him. Yeah, I feel like the Teles are a good inclusion to the deck. The Gammas, even though they're not that good going first a lot of the time, but sometimes they can be good. It's much better going second card than like the Ghost Mourner, Fenrir, Baylor. And since Tele kind of serves the same purpose as Fenrir, I'm not playing Fenrir anymore either. Since, like I said, it's kind of mid card going second a lot of the time. So yeah, I'll just get straight into it. For the monsters, we got the 3 blue, 3 jet, 1 carrot, 1 red, standard lineup. I don't think you need 2 of either one of these. The 3 beavers, 3 anglers, standard sprint stuff. We got the 1 penny, 1 caddy still. Like I said before, I think the Melffy version is the best version of this deck. These cards, just 2 cards, which they help your board a lot, since this can go into the penny to search, and then this on your opponent's turn can special itself to synchro using these 2, which is usually going to make Herald of the Arclight, and Herald of the Arclight is a really good card, and having an Omni Negate is very important right now, especially since you could get it back again with Double Cross, so you can have 2 of them. So if you have like a good enough hand where you could like get into the carrot and then go into the Arclight as well, it's going to be really hard to break that board. Even if your opponent has board breakers, if they're not Dark Ruler pretty much. And then for the last monster, I'm playing Hyperia right now, but Soul Scissors is another one. I'm not really sold in either direction on these, to be honest. I like the draw from Hyperia. Sometimes it can conflict with Prosperity, but I feel like this is just more consistent, like just get a draw every time, it's good. The Soul Scissors can come up since if a monster on the field is destroyed by battle or card effect and sent to the graveyard. It doesn't have to be your monster either, which is kind of important, I guess. Then while this is in the graveyard, you could special it and then pop a card. So this card can be helpful when going for game more than anything, because you could remove something. It could be an extra body for Mosquito. So, like I said, I don't know which one of these I prefer fully yet. I'm still kind of going back and forth with them, but you want to play one of these just so you have a gigantic target, since all you have is the sprites for that in this deck, since the Melffy stuff you get from the Melffy of the Forest. So if you already go through all your sprite stuff, you want something that you can special off the gigantic. Even though gigantic gets hand trapped a lot of the time, which we're fine with in this deck, but it is nice to have. For spell and traps, we got a 3 prosperity, the best consistency cards deck can ask for. Just dig 6 for board breakers, post side, consistency cards, a hand trap after your combo. It's just a great card. The new edition, like I said, 3 Tele, 3 starter, and 1 Gamma Burst, 1 Smashers, 1 Double Cross. Starter self-explanatory. Gamma Burst, really nice going second. Helps you end games a lot. Smashers is okay. Comes up more going second to remove big bodies and stuff. It's decent going first sometimes, but if you have the choice, you're going for Double Cross every time going first. Since this card can get you your Arclight for a second negate, can take one of your opponent's monsters to put under your sprint zone or under one of your XCs. And then it could also bring back a jet to search you a starter for follow-up if you didn't need the extra disruption. So that's really nice as well. There's a lot of utility with this card. Then the Teles, these have been really good in testing to help play through certain things. Whether you're going first and you just need a level 2. Maybe you got gamut or something, or you just had a really bad hand, like in the scenarios where like you had like Angler and Fenrir before and like no other sprites. This could be, you know, just another 2 to go into. But it mostly is nice going second when you have to play into like Mirror Jades or Arise Hearts and stuff like that. There's a lot of those cards going around that can get that first level 2 body off the board or flip it face down. You know, stuff like Book of Moon as well. So it's really nice to have this to be able to keep extending with, so all the sprites in your hand aren't dead if that does happen. So yeah, this has been really good. I think it's worth playing right now. For the time being, I wouldn't change it. That's it for the spell and traps. For the utility cards, playing all hand traps right now. 3 Ash, 3 Imperms, Gamma package. Go with the Teles. These are just generically good. This is great versus Branded, which in my opinion is probably this deck's worst matchup of the meta decks. Just because like sometimes what they do is just too much for you to play through with all the pops that they can get to. So hopefully you draw some of these to stop them, and then it's pretty easy after that. Then for the last slot, been going back and forth with like safe cards like Veiler and like Book of Moon, which are like fine, but they're not like the greatest going second. And since we're playing only 12 going second cards, as opposed to the usual 15, because we're playing the Teles, which aren't like disruptions, but they do help you play into boards still going second. So they're like kind of going second cards, but they're not like actual disruptions. But I'm main decking Drolls at the moment. Ding Kong was also doing this, and I kind of agree with the logic. This card can be incredibly good in certain scenarios versus most of the meta decks and a lot of rogue decks. If they start with like a searcher that goes into another searcher, like the terraforming into a field spell that searches, or the field spell into like Unicorn, that they probably need that to search as well. This card can just be devastating. And then in like most scenarios, it's going to turn off at least one search, even if it's like mediocre. So even that can be pretty good sometimes. If they can't get to a full board, it's a lot easier to play into, especially if you draw one of these other hand traps. So if you're cutting off like the rest of their searches, and then you just stop what else they're trying to do with one of these, you can really stop pretty much most things. So I think this is a good lineup. Like I said, the Drolls can maybe be something a little more generically good going first and second, like a Book of Moon or like a Veiler, but or even like a Ghost Spell maybe. Ghost Spell's pretty good right now into everything that's not cash, but I probably wouldn't main it simply because it's pretty dead versus cash besides Birth. That's it for the main deck, 41 cards. For the extra Melffy package, we got Melffy of the Forest, Arclight, Merry Melffys. So the Caddy bounces back to your hand, searches Penny, then Penny is a quick effect since your Caddy bounced back to Special Self and Synchro. So you use the Caddy and the Penny to go into one of these. It's going to be Arclight 99% of the time. The Merry Melffys doesn't really come up, but it maybe could in some scenarios, so it's in there, but it's probably cuttable, to be honest. And the Melffy of the Forest, even if you open like a Caddy or a Penny, you can still make this and search the other one, because it's still technically a disruption. When your Melffy bounces back, it's a trigger effect to target a monster your opponent controls. It can't attack for the turn, and you negate its effects as well. So it's pretty decent. It's not the best disruption, but it's still a disruption nonetheless. And then if you do that when you already have a Melffy, so you'll have both in hand, when your Caddy does bounce back and search something, if you still have a Beaver in deck, it can search a Beaver, which is nice. So sometimes you'll purposely search for a Beaver, or when you sprint, you'll purposely leave a Beaver in deck, so you can search it with that, if you do happen to have both the Melffys already. So that's cool. Links, we got 2 Sprint, 2 Nightmares, Cerberus, and Phoenix. These both are really nice. They're good utility. It's really nice when you have an angler in hand to send with these, so it's just a lot of value. It can help you break through boards. For the XCs, we got 2 Gigantic, Soul Sweeper, Ninja Shadow Mosquito, Downerd, Sky Cav, 2 Zeus. 2 Zeus, you know, it's mandatory. Downerd too. These 2, you don't usually see both, but I decided to play both of them just because this one can come up for like going for game when the board state allows it to, especially with the Soul Scissors. If you play that, it becomes a little easier to do that since that's an extra body. Then the Sky Cavalry, like I said in the last video, bouncing stuff back like Mirror Jade with this card is kind of relevant because you don't want it to like blow up your board in the end phase. So this can be really nice for that. So that's it for the extra deck. Before I get into the side deck, I just thought of the funny interaction that comes up with Gamma. This can be an Arise Heart out on your turn, if you were to hold it, or if you like draw it for your 6th card, or better yet, if you have a Prosperity and like you use Prosperity while they have a Rise Heart up, and then you like add a Gamma, and by the time this resolves, it's getting banished. So the Arise Heart will trigger since it's mandatory, since the card was banished, and then you could just Gamma it, and then you get 2 bodies. One's a level 2 to get your play start, and then the Arise Heart's gone. So that's a really nice interaction with Gamma. So for the side deck, I'm going to give a few options as well for this. For the back row hate, we got 3 Evenly, 3 Lightning Storm, Duster. Kind of iffy on Evenly, but it's okay for the most part. I find with this deck, having just another card that's nice to grab off Prosperity is nice, since you don't really want to side out Prosperity. And if you're using Prosperity, you can't OTK anyway, so like Evenly is fine, since, like I said, you can't end the game, so skipping your battle phase isn't a huge deal. Then I like these as opposed to Cosmic, just because these are more generic since they can hit monsters as well. So it's not just like to go into back row decks. But Cosmic is better versus like a Runic. But I have to play these instead. If you want to play less back row hate, you could cut one of these. I prefer the Storm over the Evenlies personally, but either or, you can cut for another hand trap if you want. For the 1-0s, we got a Change of Heart and a Pointer. This one for going second, this one for going first. The Change of Heart's really nice to take stuff that can remove your first level 2. Can take like XCs to help you just make a Zeus. It's a really nice card. The fact that you can attack with it is also pretty relevant. Pointer, it's just a broken, sacky 1-of going first. Can remove like Lava Golems, Spear Modes, Dark Rulers, the main things that are an issue for this deck. Then for our going first card, I go back and forth between Judgments and D-Barriers. I wouldn't play both of them, obviously. I would just dedicate one slot to go with your Pointer. I think Judgment's the better card, personally, for the most part. But if you want a card for your worst matchup, which is Branded, definitely play the D-Barriers. Since your board doesn't play that favorably into Branded, as it does into other decks, since like your Caddy can be awkward versus that deck sometimes. So having a D-Barrier is crazy versus that deck. It's crazy versus Sword Soul, obviously. Other decks like that. I don't think it's that great versus Kashtira, which is why I kind of stopped playing it. But it's not terrible versus them, but I feel like Judgment just is more solid for the most part. But you can play either one of these. But if you want a card specifically for Branded, go with Dimensional Barrier for sure. But like I said, I prefer the Judgment in most other spots. Then for the last slot, we're playing another hand trap. I would play either Lancia or Ghost Spell. If you want something that is more solid into more matchups, definitely go with Ghost Spell. Since this can hit Labyrinth, it can hit the expulsion play, which is a pain in the ass if that resolves. So you definitely want to stop them from doing that. It's good versus Naturia Runic. It can hit Kashtira Birth. It can hit Runic Fountain. It's just a really good card in general. It's borderline main deckable, but like I said, since it's not good versus Cash, I don't like main decking it. And then the Lancia is good versus Cash. It's just decent in general versus evenly matched more than anything, which evenly can be really good versus this deck if you can't get to a carrot. But post side, you probably want to prioritize getting to a carrot, which is usually not a problem, but that's just something to keep in mind since the caddy, you have to wait for your opponent to summon something, so it can be really awkward if they go into battle phase to do evenly. If you don't have a carrot, it can be very bad. So one of these, it's kind of preference, I'd say. But yeah, that's it for the side. Because between these two sets right here, you kind of just pick one and one from each side. I'd probably go with these two, or the bells. These are like, if you want to like really go towards branded, side these 6. The bells and the D-bears. So that's it for the side. Like I said, 41 cards in the main. I think this deck's really strong right now. I think it's definitely the second best deck, in my opinion. I think it's arguably the best choice, simply because Kashtira is way more heavily prepared for than this deck is. So, me personally, if I had to pick a deck to play, like I'm playing Spright just because I think it's just, you know, everyone's prepared to play against Kashtira because it's probably the best deck, even though it does have a lot of issues. But Rise Heart is a hell of a card, and it does have a lot of space for utility, so it's still a very strong deck, and the fact that people are so prepared for it speaks volumes into that. So even if you don't think it's the best deck, it probably is. It's just, people are so prepared for it. That's why it doesn't seem as good as it probably is. So that's it for the video. Well, like I said, I think this is the best variant of Spright. The Adventure version's okay because the Newman lock is like kind of broken, but I don't like that version just because you have to play a lot more bricks. You have to go way over 40 to fit everything, especially if you want more going second cards. So I'm not a huge fan of it, but it's like fine as well. I don't think the Runic version of Spright is very good personally. The Tri Brigade version's okay, but I think that the other versions are just better. But the main thing about this version is I like that you don't care about your Gigantic resolving half the time. So it's just a great hand trap bait, and then you just full combo them anyway. So they're just hand looping themselves for you to end on minimum 4 disruptions. Yeah, that's it for the video. Drop a sub. Appreciate that if you do. Like, comment, all that good stuff. Have a nice day. Peace.